So I put myself in a situation where I openly receive criticism, justifiably, from both religious and scientific people. On one end, you've got religious people who wonder why Elliott uses the word God and will speak so eloquently and openly oftentimes about Jesus and perhaps some of the other figures in the Abrahamic religions. And often speaks very openly about his ideas on Eastern religions. How could somebody be like, could speak that way, but still deny that a man could rise from the dead and come back and hang out with you, or walk on water, perhaps? Why won't you take literally that a man could talk to a burning bush, the bush talks back, and then gives him ways and means to navigate the world? Why can't you take that literally, Elliott? And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got scientific people that wonder, how is it, Elliott, that you speak so scientifically with regard to the body? You use such eloquent language to describe the world in a very scientific language, but yet you use this word God. You refer to this Jesus character, all of which makes absolutely no sense. There's one thing about both ends of that spectrum that are exactly the same as each other. And where they both fail is in that they see the world through the eyes of one side of a two-sided coin. Both religion and science see world objectively. Now, you might say, Elliott, that's not the case with religion, right? Because religion was born of an objective of a subjective experience, right? That's why they spoke in terms of animals speaking to people and giant floods and all the stories made up in order to describe the deeper realities of the world that they did not have language for, or at least the language wasn't the way we use it today in scientific terms. But when you start taking those outer descriptions as literal translations of what has actually happened, like there was a Noah Ark, Jesus actually died and came back physically, like we can touch him, then what you're doing is you're looking at, and you're distorting, you're ruining the beautiful poetic language that our ancients, our ancestors used in order to give us hints into how to navigate the external world through a subjective understanding. The language is pointing to something of a greater reality. There's no need to prove it. You see, religious people, you want to prove that these stories are real. Well, that's where you become scientific, and you fall into the same trap that science has fallen into, where everything is about how I can prove. Well, good, that's fine, that's great, that's a very important side of the coin. It's 50% of the human experience, because only 50% of what goes on in the human experience is object-oriented, meaning that we could point to it, we could touch it, we can prove it, we can measure it. That is all very well and good. It's very important. It has gotten us so much of the beautiful things that we have today, because we can see the world in that way. We can be objective. See, many animals can't do that. Human beings are brilliant in our capacity to be objective, but we have this bias towards objectivity, and we've completely ignored and demonized the subjective experience. The subjective is the inner experience, and it is not the same as that which could be measured with tools and pointed at and tangibly manipulated and navigated. You can't deal with it the same way as you deal with the outer experience, the objective, because the subjective is not an object, it's an experience. My invitation is to continue with whatever way you decide to understand the world, either through the poetic language of religion or the scientific way of describing the world, because that even that is poetic. Yet we don't like to look at it that way. Acknowledge it that way. And get in touch with your experience. The subjective, what's happening inside you, not what someone has told you. See, both science and religion are based on what other people have measured or experienced, what other people see or have come to know. Most of the time, it's not true anyway. They've read textbooks or Bibles. They don't know anything because they've been so far removed from their personal subjective experience that all they can do is personally identify with these objects. Language. Because that's really what it is. It's fucking language that we've become so addicted to. Language is just symbols. That they have no personal experience of their own. Most of us have no personal experience of our own. We don't know how to be in touch with ourselves. We don't know what's going on inside us. In fact, inside it's all creepy and weird. So we had better attach to that which is out here, which is clean and neat. A number of problems with that. Being attached to the objects puts you in a very vulnerable position to manipulation by those who hold the objects. You see, that's why religion has caused so many wars, and science is causing us to destroy the earth. Both afford us beautiful things in their correct context, but both cause us to destroy ourselves and our planet. Go in and see, feel, experience what's happening in you. Use the objective world to get a better understanding, or use language, symbols to sort of describe it, but see it for just what it is. It is a tool. Science is a tool, and religion is a tool. And the words that they use are simply language. They're just different languages, but still tools to describe that which cannot really be described, which is the subjective, because everybody's subjective experience is completely different. That's the other trap. When you become so attached to the objective, you don't have anything because it's all out there. So of course I'm ranting, and I'm sure I lost a lot of you along the way there. I probably lost myself. But my real invitation is not to give up your religion, not to see it as right or wrong, not to destroy the world in the name of it, or to just be attached to science. My invitation is to go in, experience yourself, trust yourself. Know that what you are feeling and what's happening on the inside of you and your perspectives thereof are good, and they're right, and they're true, although they may be diametrically opposed to everything you've been told. Have your own